Hello, my name is Marcus and welcome to Tabletop Reviews, where today I'm having a look at Creature Comforts. Finally, yes. In Saturday's video I talked about how I might have gotten it played by then. I didn't, but I did play it Saturday and Monday. So we got it played finally. And now I'm doing a review of it, talking about it of course. Well, let's quickly get it to the table. Alright, let's get it set up here. It's as soon as I open it I don't have the game trace insert, so it's a jumbled mess. But let's pick out just 2 players and then remove the other 3 player pieces because we're just gonna play. And then we have some cards, and I'm just gonna bring out all of the bags here and then bring out the board. Bottom, which I don't know if that's very smart. I don't think I'm going to pack it down on the top after this actually. And here we go, that's the main board right here. What we're going to base we're going to base everything on. So, big cards right here. They go in the big card slot, obviously. But only the 4 of the door, you have to put in the deck right there. Bam, bam, bam. That's set up. And let's throw yellow over here, and we have purple here. And then you can see up here in the top here the different colors that insinuate who they are. So see, that's gray, that's blue, that's red, that is purple, that is yellow. And then you have your own personal little player board which you can set up here, and we'll take player setup in just a second. Because we have this bag right here, very important components. First of all, you have the big cards, which are the meadow, as you can see here, or the forest, as you can see here, white and yellow lettering, and you place it out here. There is a specific placement for either of them. I just can't remember, I'm just putting them in. Well, actually you can see it. That's the thing, right, that I really like about it. All of the coloring on them matches. This get all jumbled up. And so you can see there's 2 rocks here, there's 2 rocks there. This way you know that forest goes there, and you can see here you have some trees and you have some bushes and they match up, and bam, meadow goes there. In essence, it doesn't really matter, it just looks aesthetically pleasing. Right, you also, in this one, you have the visitor cards, which you're going to shuffle up and put on the inn right here. And you have this one, the hilltop, which I do not understand, because put it on top here, it doesn't change a single thing. It just sits there. I don't really understand that piece. Then you have Earthworm Jim, as we called him. But early birds gets the worm, so we put this to the first player. Let's just say that's purple. Bam. And then you kind of do that to flip it in a whatever non-specific way. That's how I do it. I don't know if there's a better way to do it. Maybe just give it a spin and then move it up. That is also a way you could do it. You have the other bag of some cards and some dice. So these cards are smaller cards. You're also going to shuffle them up, put them up here, and then you're going to place them all down here. Yes. Then you have wheelbarrow and medicine book things. You can put those over top here just in case you need them. Some of these are going to give you those. Put it aside there. Dice can go over here. We're going to need those later. This right here is a modifier. When there is +5 and times 5. Yeah, it's just in case you run out of any of the resources. You can grab one of these and put a resource in to show that you have 5 of that resource. Speaking of resources, they can just be put down here. I'm just going to keep them in their bags. And it's very important to note that these 6 right here are different. They are goods. If a card refers to goods, they refer to either of these 6. These are coins and these are stories distinct from these. And you have lessons learned tokens. Take those in a while. Now I'm just gonna set up purple player because you're going to get it. But there are two things on this one. You have 4 places over here, little squares, and you have 2 bigger squares over here. So the little squares are going to hold your houses. They look like this. How you would expect a house to look if you think. Fucking lighting. I need another lamp in here. I really do, especially for the winter. Because light just disappears. Anyways, you will place them on the little squares to the left. Go. The 2 on the top right is for your dice. Just place them there, and then you can have your workers wherever you're gonna have in front of you, ready or whatever. And now let's say the same way happened to the yellow player. On your turn then, of course this top card will be flipped over to show the visitor at the end for this month. Now it's into time. Of course, the game sort of is about making the most comfortable home for the winter. So you're starting in spring, is that the English word? Yeah, spring. Going to summer, going to fall with these cards. Over here on the left there's this symbol, so in spring you can't get corn, in the summer you can't get mushrooms, and in the fall you can't get yarn. Those will not be available here, so just kind of think about it. Oh wait, last thing for setup. Each player gets 3 of these cards and decides on 2 of them to keep. Just gotta throw this one away, it doesn't really matter. There we go. Now these cards here are your comforts, and these cards are some, what do you want to call them, upgrades. They can also be the glades, which is something where another player, for example this one, if a player places it here, he gets a book and a resource of their own choice. And as I said, this means resources, it means these 6 right here, you can't grab a coin or a book of them, right? It's important. But the owner may not place here, so the owner can't place it here. When another player collects, they must give a gift of any resource to the owner. So if you own that, to show you how you show it off, you get a resource if somebody uses it. And it does give something good. A book and a resource, you can trade 1 for 1 resource, right? Your upgrades over here, they score a base amount of points, the same as these ones over here. Or others can also, this one has a power, you get a 6 no matter what over here. I'll tell you why that's important. This one can add 1 or 2 to one of your family dice, which is the ones in your own color. Also one that can add or subtract 1 from the group die, which is the yellow, the white ones, I can't remember what they're called, whatever. Village die, it's this one actually. Raise or lower 1 village die by 1. You can, you know, if this was a 1, you could go with, it's a 2. And then gain some points for every food comfort, which is marked by these symbols up here. Some of them don't have, that's whatever. And then there's all kinds of ways to score. These ones over here have a higher amount of base points, cost a little bit more in resources, some of them, but they also score extras. This one +3 if you store books on it. This one +2 if you also have the muffler. That's basically the points. Either there's some cards that belong to them, or you can store some resources on them. But how will your turn go? Well, each turn starts off with the roll of your family die, which is the ones in your color. So for this round, oh, that was a 3. You have a 4 and a 3. Bang. Now you then place your workers wherever. You all do this on the same time, by the way. It doesn't matter where you place your workers, but it matters who has the worm. So let's say, what do I want? It's difficult. Let's say, well, let's go over these cards. This one, you visit the inn and you take the turn of whatever this guy has. Oh, also he has an award. All month long, every unresolved worker are worth 2 more lessons learned tokens than usual. There's also some that are instant. Let's see if we can find an example of an instant. Immediately, place 2 lessons learned tokens from the supply here. Each player may use them on their turn. Okay, so that's something that would happen right away. Lesson learned tokens are plus or minus 1 to one of your die, and you get it if you don't use a worker. So if a worker was here, you didn't use him for the turn, you didn't do this, you focus on your other workers, well, you get a lesson learned token, because a wasted worker is a lesson learned. You visit the inn here. Over here you get, you get the resources that are up here to live up to it. This is This one needs 3 die at the total 11 or higher. This one needs 3 and 4, so we could visit there and get 3 because we have 3 and 4. This is a question mark, and then it needs +1/+1. Basically means 3 in numerical order. So 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, whatever. And over here you need a 1 and a 2. Now you also have that over here, right? Let's say this was rolled, but it isn't. But you would have this here, right? But you place this, these are not rolled yet. Over here you could get a coin and a stone for exactly a 3, 2 stones for a 4 or a 5, and then 1 stone for a 1, a 2 or a 6. So you bet on us getting, you know, another 3 for this one, you have a 3 there. This one you can trade 1 coin to any resource, 2 of the same resource to any resource, 3 coins to 1. So 3 resources to 1 coin. This symbol here means the number rolled doesn't matter. So it doesn't matter what you can put a 1, 2, 3, whatever here. The same here. Here you take one of these 4 cards, add them to your hand. This one over here, if you get a 1 or 2 die now, you can draw 2 from the pile. If you have a 3 or up to a 6, you get to draw 1 card from over here. And here, the owl's nest, you get to take and pay immediately, that's important, for one of these upgrades here. And basically it's, you know, it's 1 or higher, 2 or higher, 3 or higher, 4 or higher, 5 or higher, or, you know, 6. And this is where this comes in, because it gives you die always will be 6, so you will, as you assume you have this one, you have access to all of them. That's what all the things do. Let's say we place the workers like this, you then roll the village dies, and bam, and the first person with the worm takes their turn. So we had this one, and we were lucky enough to also get this one. Unfortunately we didn't get that one, but we could put this one down and get whatever. Is there actually one I can afford with the resources I get from that? No, there isn't. Well, a stone and a coin, no, there isn't one I can afford with it. So that would obviously be very much wasted. Probably at the start of the turn you would rather do this, you know, obviously place based on what you have on hand. Would be better. This is a fine example of, you know, that wasted one. You get the resource, you get 2 mushrooms, 2 apples and a string or yarn for this one here. You get one of these cards. Let's just say you build this one. This is just an example, right? So you kind of build it here. This is your personal one. And you take your lowest building and place it on it. If you had this one, the rules say you should place it up here and then place your building on it. Just so everybody can see it, but we have already played that you place it down by you. Anyways, you've done that, you move these ones down and flip over the next card, so you know, you can see it, and there's a fresh one in case yellow also was placed here. If you're taking this one, it's the same procedure. Let's say I took this one to my hand, move these cards over, flip the next card, so that it's filled for the next person. Right, now it's the end of the turn. Grab your dice back, the village dice go back here. You grab your workers back. This is the end of the round. You don't take your workers back until the entire round is ended. And of course you would have taken a lessons learned token. You know, we're taking the turn, now it's over here. Now reset it, and I do this in a simple way. I just move this one to the side, and the one that's on the board is now the active one. The top one, and now the bottom one is thrown out. Everybody is moved down one. So they essentially get cheaper. And flipped over. Oh, actually, Jesus Christ. At the end of your turn, right, you can get to build any of these ones. You couldn't afford one. But let's say you could put down the piggy bank right here. And you didn't have any resources left. But you can, this one says +2 for this coin stored here. You can always store things on your cards. Even if it's not your turn, you can take and move a couple coins over here. And then if you need them at any time, you can take them from the card and back to your supplies, so you have them, you know, once again. There is no limit on that. And there's no limit on how many cards you can have here, but you can only have 3 on your hand. So if you get 4, you need to throw 1 out if you haven't played it. Bang. Anyways, that's how you end your turn. This one also, the leftmost, thrown out and moved over. The new one flipped. Put him at the bottom, flip over a new one. This one has an immediately, in turn order, each player, yeah. This one, of course, goes over. So yellow is now starting player. This one is moved, so now it's a 2 here, a 3 and a 4 here, a 5, 6 and a 1 here. And now the board has been reset for the next round, and you just continue going. Right, I mean, I think that's it that there is to note about the game. Fairly simple, but I don't know how I managed to fuck up the rules. Anyways, back to the table. And there we are. I don't know why I was so unconfident. It's a very simple game, of course. By the way, do you like my new backdrop? I just received these. Surprisingly, I hadn't received tracking number for the wood, but they arrived. Yay! The Dice Tower Kickstarter. That's actually the 2023 season's live right now. I'm backing it to get one more of these, I think. The Dice Tower, whatever. Doesn't matter. It's about the game, not about my awesome playmats. Crazy comforts. Talk about the gameplay. Of course, it's very simple. When I first played it at my playgroup, played with a mate who likes Everdell and likes viticulture because he really likes worker placement. It's a bit of worker placement and dice placement, of course. And what he really said right away after our first game is, it's very after the first round actually. He said it's very interesting worker placement where you're not in the way of one another. It's very interesting, he thought. And I think so too, yes. When I thought about it, you know, in Everdell and in viticulture, you usually, when you've placed a worker, you are blocking off an opponent in most parts. On this one, not at all. It's basically only at the cards where you can mess with one another a little bit. That was my cats. I don't know if the camera picked that one up. Anyways. With the cards you can mess one another up, but you have the village dice together. Of course there's some cards that make you allow you to alter the village die, which can go against your opponents or with your opponents. An example of that is he was very reluctant, the same player, to change the die from 5 to a 4 because he needed a 4, but I also needed a 4. So he was very reluctant to do it because usually he doesn't want to help you at all, no matter what. Well, he did it, and luckily enough. But it's very fun. Funny. Yes, it is funny. But it's interesting to, you know, not be in the way of one another in placing your worker. But of course, the order makes, you know, the choices easier. But you could help your opponent. You could get in the way of your opponent. It's very random. There's very little player interaction within the game. But I think the way that it's not so offensive against one another, not very much, you know, take that-ish, very much suits this theme. So basically the theme is you are creatures, like the saying here, and you're making your house comfy for the winter. And that's the win. You get hearts onto your cards, obviously, and then you who have the most comfortable at the end wins. By the way, one thing I forgot to show in the overview is where you have your score point tracker. Let me just pull out one here to show you that. You have your front, this is your house, and then you flip around and you have your score tracker on the back. Pretty fancy, you count all your points, whatever. Yeah, forgot to show that in the overview, sorry about that. And yes, I put the board on top, obviously. Just wanted to make sure that was in. But yeah, there's a lovely feel about getting the most comfortable. And then my fiance was like, because we had a draw of those two on 75 and me on 74, unfortunately. But then both players win. My fiance, but like, what? Why is there not a thing? And the other player was like, good, there's not some random win thing. And then he mentioned Splendor, and that's not a random anyways. But it fits this theme, right? It's just about getting a comfortable home. And two of you got a really, really comfortable home. Awesome for you. And that is just an amazing theme. An amazing thing, I think, to just be capable of to do that. And the theme just go through. Because that's why it's not so offensive. You're not in each other's faces. It's just, you know, going around the village, saying hi to your friends, but making sure that you're ready for winter. That's amazing. I love how you know, there's some things that can't be made in fall, summer, and spring. I don't like the fact that it's yarn, because yarn is not a produce, right? You have mushrooms, you have corn, which, well, I don't know if it's thematic that it doesn't grow in fall and summer. Well, I know about corn, but I don't know about mushrooms. But then you need something for fall. I mean, it's in spring, there's no corn, and then in fall, you need something different. And you have apples to do that, right? I mean, wood and stone will always be, but then apples in fall, maybe. Or maybe it's in summer. As I said, on that I'm not overly, I could have Googled it, but I don't really care. But I just think that wood, rock and yarn is something you should be capable of getting year round, because that's not really like weather thing. Like corn is kind of weather dependent and it needs time to grow, so sure, you can get it in spring. Mushrooms need the right conditions to grow. I believe they grow year round, but of course that's the only other thing. And the same with apples, which actually grow in the fall, so it couldn't be apples in the fall, but maybe shrooms. As I said, I don't really know. Maybe apples actually grow in the spring and not in the fall. Maybe I'm mixing those two up. I am mixing those two up, I think. But make the things that grow, the things that you can't get a hold of in certain parts of the year. Otherwise, I really like that, and that there's a warning so you know. And of course, the visitor to the inn for the month is very interesting. By the way, it doesn't matter that it's because you're missing 1 month, the last fall month. Anyways, a visitor in the month who does something and then you get an ability at him. It's a very interesting thing, and a lot of them are, well, it's obviously random. You're going to get some at the right time and it's the exact thing I need, or somewhere it's like, that's completely useless right now, I needed that a round ago, or maybe you come 2 rounds later and you're like, now I need that one. I had that happen where it's like, oh, that in the second round, like the first one we had there, oh, I couldn't use that right now. Dang it. And of course the dice placement is very interesting. Very lucky again, but you have the mitigation and the little lessons to learn tokens. But it's very lucky what you roll. But it's interesting to try and add die. I haven't played dice work placement before, whether it's with or without worker placement. So to me it's a new thing, this placing the die and trying to make a certain phase or a certain number, you know, adding them together and whatever. Very interesting. You can go 11 or higher, 6 or lower, and then 3 in a row and all these. It's very interesting to sit there and think, how can I put this together, how can I do this? And at some points you just can't do all of them. That's impossible based on the die and stuff you've got. So you've got to sit there and like, which ones do I need, which ones don't I need so much? That can be very difficult to choose. But I really like that. That's a very interesting thing, especially when you know only 2 of your die, which is just a third, so that's not very much. So that's very interesting. Anyways, talking a lot about the gameplay, let's move on to the components. What do you think of the components? Well, the die are actually nice. They're just regular 6-sided dice, but they are nice. They work and they roll fine. The thing is, a lot of the family die go away from the family color, right? So you have the purple one. Well, the red one is probably the worst one. So at the red, I think what are they, foxes or something, or the squirrels, I can't remember. The red player houses and the meeples are very, very different from the red die. And even the purple that I mentioned first is also quite different. I think grey and yellow are the ones that hit the best, but they're very often color and I dislike that. I don't exactly know the procedure to produce die and those other components, but there's gotta be a way to get the color matching a bit more. And it's something that bothers me quite. You have cardboard cutout tokens for lessons learned and for the resources, the goods and everything. And they're fine. They're a little bit on the thin side, and 1 or 2 of mine have had a little, when you don't quite disconnect from the plate, so you get a little tear in them. This 1 or 2 of the corn that has that, because it is quite thin and actually a little bit of a bad material made. Yeah. But I like the game, so I'm actually getting the upgrade. I backed the Maple Valley, so I'm getting the upgrade components to get this one to the deluxe version. But anyways, that bothers me, of course. It's thin, it's not quite up there where it could be. That's of course annoying for a game such as this. The cards are fine. I think they're very good cards, perfectly fine. Smidge bit on the thin side, but otherwise they're quite good and easy to shuffle, and yeah, I like it. I do like it. First player token is thicker wood cardboard cutout. I don't know why that is feels so different. feels just more sturdy than the other components. Now I got this used, so I don't know if it was individual cutouts or not. If they're different, right, resources and the first player token. But it feels just thicker and higher quality, which is interesting, to say the least. The main player boards of your own are nice, thick, sturdy, real good. Some awesome ones, and I love that you flip them around for the next part. Right, and artwork is amazing for this game, absolutely amazing. It's just cute, the artwork, it's lovely to look at, and you really get it. And in some of them there are board games, and we've spent a little bit of time looking through them, and I think there's Wingspan, Fossilis and Everdell. I think those are the games that are in there. Now, I don't know if they got permission to do it or if they've just sort of reassembled them without their knowledge, but that's definitely the games that are in there, which I loved. That was something we loved. Like, as soon as we saw it, like, oh, that's a board game. It was like my fiance to point out that's Wingspan. Oh yeah, it is. And then the other made a friend, he was like, oh, but what's this? Which is this one then? And it was Fossilis. Don't you know Fossilis? I haven't played it, but I just know how it looks. We had some fun with that. I think that's great. But yeah, the artwork is a little cutesy, but there isn't really creatures on it, so I think it's difficult to make it cutesy. But you kind of get the feel like of the cover here, this cozy feel, this cute animals and everything. Kind of get that in them. There's none of these ones, but just the colors are like darker, warmer colors. Not well, darker usually are colder, but it's like warm, cozy colors. Because you're adding comforts, right? And just looks and feels comforts that you're adding here. And just, it's a rock and you add a quilt, and it just looks like such a nice quilt. I want to put it on right now. I don't know what a quilt is. I think I should say that. Right, and then you have the pantry, and the soup just looks nice and warm. Like, oh, I got a bowl of that. And I think that's amazing in the artwork. Absolutely amazing. The main board looks nice, a little bit cramped. I feel like they needed to make it smaller, but they had larger artwork. Feels a little bit like that, but it still looks really good. The river and what is called mountains and stuff. It all looks really good, and at the different places, the markets, the outlets, it resembles very well what you're trying to do, alongside obviously adding the details about what needs to go where, the cards, and what can you do at the market and stuff. But it also just looks natural, and like you would go from the inn onto the market. A little bit cramped, but looks very, very nice. Yeah. It's difficult not to say that this is a very beautiful game, definitely. So, does it lie to you? It actually says right here in the box, which is nice. 1 to 5 players, 8 and up, 45 minutes. Well, 1 to 5 players, as always, I don't really play the one player game, I haven't played it. But 2 to 5, I can see it working really well. We have played it at 2, 3, and hoping to get a 4 or 5 player game in at some point. But it definitely seems like a game that would work really well at up to 5. I think it would go above 45 minutes then. I think at 2 and 3 we keep it around the 45. With the teach it goes to 60, of course, but around 45. I think at 4 or 5 you are going to look at 60, 70, maybe even 18 minutes to complete it. 8 and up, I can see it. It's very simple to understand, and then getting the right resources. There are a few things with the die and where you place them, and also the market where you change around, where you really can think ahead and do a lot. And I think, you know, a guy in my age would be at a severe advantage over a 9-year-old in the terms of like thinking ahead what I'm gonna do, because obviously I can take these resources and I can trade them in at the market, and then I can get by this one over here, and constantly thinking like, okay, how do I need to change around? I can do that, but an 8, 9, 10-year-old might struggle a little bit with putting all of the things together. You have 4 actions, right? And I can sit here and be like, okay, so I can take these words, I can change them around here, I can buy this one, and maybe this one allows me to change some other stuff, to introduce some other stuff. How am I going to do that with these components that I have? And I can sit and do that. I can sit and knuckle with that. My friend can also sit and knuckle with that. But do you go into an 8, 9, 10, they're going to probably struggle a little bit to do that. But otherwise, I think they're perfectly fine, available to play this game. Definitely. So, what is my score? Well, I said, and I thought a little bit about that. I thought a little bit about what is my score for this one. Because my initial reaction was a 10 out of 10.
I thought a little bit about it, and I'm going down to a 9. The reason I'm dropping it from a 10 out of 10 to a 9 is, first of all, lack of player interaction. You don't really do a lot with your players. You just kind of, when roll your dice, place your workers, and wait your turn. There isn't a lot of interaction. Maybe, you know, he goes and gets the comfort you wanted, or the upgrade down here that you wanted. But otherwise, there isn't a lot of interaction. You obviously change the die, but again, that's just a small little thing. So there's a lack of interactions in the game. And I think that drags it a little bit down for me, that you don't really have that. I think I need that in it. And of course, I have to say, the fact that the base game components are the quality that they are, that's dragging it down. I know that I'm probably going to upgrade them, because I really like this game, and am I keeping it, obviously. But that the fact that the components aren't there just bothers me a lot. So that's striking down. Also, I would say resource value, you know, which is more value to what, is very unclear, right? It's very unclear what goes to what, right? You can change 1 coin to any resource, but then you can trade 3 of any resource to 1 coin. So 1 coin is not equal to 1 resource, is equal to 3 resource, or what? I understand the thing about trading 2 to a 1. That makes sense, but the coin, what's that value? And up here you can just add any die and get that and a rock. But at the other one you can get 2 rocks. So does that say that it's closer to the value of 1? It's a little bit up and down on that one in terms of the value of the different thing in workers as well. So that's a little bit off. But other than those few little nitpicks, which is going to bring it down to a 9, I just don't feel like this is a 10 out of 10. I'm stingy with my 10 out of 10, and trying to be, at least. You need to be really, really good to be a 10 out of 10. And this one isn't really, really good, it's really good. Really, really? No. Really? Yes. A little bit around there. But it's a really good game. I backed the Maple Valley Kickstarter, of course. I'm getting the upgraded pieces and the 2 mini expansions for this one. And I'm getting everything from Maple Valley and the Dice Tower promo and everything, because I really like this one. And I want to get a hold of the Game Trace insert to see if that will improve, because the storage is terrible right now. That's another thing, right? This storage is just bad. I'm sorry to say. But it's a really good game. I really like it. It's staying in my collection. I'm hoping to get to play it a lot more. And that's another episode of Tabletop Reviews done. Thank you very much for watching. Hope to see you in the next one. Bye!